I want to look at things that are in order. So your most recent to your earliest training, that's definitely important to include, and make sure you have it in chronological order. A really good way to do it is the months and then the 2 digits for the year and have those on there. And then when you started and stopped for sure. And keep your resume updated as you rotate through clinical sites. That way, you're getting all that information on there and you're not having to backtrack and think, oh my goodness, what have I done? I've been so busy. What did I miss? Definitely include your contact information. So your address, your phone number, making sure that's correct, and a professional email address. We have seen some pretty crazy email addresses. So just making sure you have something simple like maybe your first name and last name. Definitely professional though. And just making sure that it is on there. We have received CVs with no contact information, or I'm sorry, resumes. And so then we don't know how to contact you. Again, making sure everything is in chronological order with your education, your training, your work experiences, all of your certifications and licenses. If you've had any different publications, presentations, research, making sure that's on there. Again, putting it on there after it's done can be a really good best practice. Any professional memberships you might have, any affiliations, and then something optional to think about that I always like seeing because I feel like it helps me in recruiting. Your hobbies, your interest, your family, putting that kind of information on there so we can help match make as best as possible. And some things to keep off of your resume, your social security number, your date of birth, your photo, and reference letters. We'll definitely request those reference letters at a later date, or your prospective employer would, but keeping those off of your resume initially is a good idea. And then, of course, for a resume consultation, please feel free to contact any SIH recruiter, so any of us, for a one-on-one consultation. We're really happy to help walk through what to include on your resume, looking at your resume, and helping you with any tips or pointers.
So, one of the things you want to start with is asking yourself, what is it that I am looking for? What do I want with my career? So, identify and then understand what's important to you as well as to your family. And then realize that there's going to be a list of things that you need, and then there's also going to be a list of things that you want. And just recognizing that those two lists will have to mesh together and merge when the final location is determined. Some of the things that you may need or want would be set amenities such as shopping or grocery stores in the same town, different things like that. What do the schools look like? What do you like to do in your leisure time? What's your cultural activities? Think about geographic preferences. Do you want to be in a certain region of the United States, a certain state? Do you want a city setting? Do you want a rural setting? So on and so forth. Think about the practice setting that you want and what type of practice do you want? Do you want to work in a large group or a small group? Do you want to be independent or do you want to be part of a care team? What's the schedule like? What's the cases like? You do want a variety of those. We did just put a couple of statistics, I guess, at the bottom. 72% of all providers that put geography first start looking again within 2 years. So look at the practice as a whole. And then 50% of providers that leave list poor cultural fit as the reason that they do leave. So again, look at the culture of your beliefs and what the culture is of the organization that you're going to be joining. So once you've made your list, it's time to search. It's time to start your career search. Some of the things you can do are contact recruiters. There are in-house recruiters and there are search firms. An in-house recruiter is a person that is like myself and Ashley and Nicole. We actually work for the organization that we're recruiting for. We live in the community. We have family in the communities. We're just very familiar with the organization and the community. A search firm is something that's dedicated to finding you a job. So you give them your resume and they then dole it out across the country. And they don't necessarily work for the organization or have never been to the organization, never been to the area. So just think about the different types of recruiters that there are. Also, when we talk about search firms are free for you to utilize, but they're not free for the organization to utilize or your potential employer to utilize. So there's a little bit of cost there, and that cost does need to be made up somewhere. So think about what that would do to your potential salary or benefits. Talk with your program director, your coordinator in your program, network with people, look on the internet. There are specific sites to help medical professionals find jobs. CareerMD, Practice Link, Practice Match. We've recently started using LinkedIn, so networking, like social media networking. Gaswork and Bagmask are good ones for anesthesia. Attend any conference you get the chance to and go into the exhibit hall, go to job fairs, make those connections, see what's out there. And then don't forget about your spouse or your significant other. They have a role in this as well. So don't just try to do it by yourself. When it comes to searching for that job, your spouse or your significant other, your family, they can lend eyes and ears and different things to it. For us, if we have a candidate on site interviewing, if Ashley has one of you interviewing, Nicole may take the spouse out into the community tour, do different things at different times, so that spouse or significant other is hearing from another perspective. So keep that in mind, that they are there to help you as well. Look at the community, look at the benefits that are available in the community. Think about your spouse's job and what type of opportunity there would be for them. Again, the schools, look at the local attractions. If you really like parks, ask to go visit the parks, so on and so forth.
All right. So moving on to the phone interview, you want to make sure that you pre-schedule a time that is convenient, where you're going to be in a quiet place. You have no distractions. You're not going to get called onto a case and have to interrupt your call. Your recruiter can tell if you're distracted. So make sure you're being able to, pay full attention to what's going on. Aside adequate time. A typical phone interview is going to take 30 minutes to an hour. So that's good to expect. We do understand that things do come up. So if you're unable to make the call or you foresee distractions, please feel free to just send an email and reschedule the call. That's not an issue at all. And of course, use a phone with a good connection. So the phone interview can really make or break whether or not you get an invitation for an on-site interview. So you want to make sure that you're prepared, that you have a list of questions for your recruiter. Check out the hospital and community websites so you have a good idea of what the setup is ahead of time. Get the names of key decision makers. Make sure you're communicating honestly. If you know going into the interview that you just want to work 7 to 3, let's make sure you're getting what you want out of this. There's no reason to go on to the next step if you know it's not a good fit for you. Have your resume in front of you. As Nicole was explaining earlier, those gaps in chronology and having the dates, if those aren't on your resume, your recruiter's going to ask. So it's very good to have it in front of you so you can kind of see what you put and what they're looking for. And then, of course, remember, we can't see your face on a phone interview. So be enthusiastic and sincere. Be aware of the inflection in your voice. Questions to anticipate. Why are you pursuing this opportunity? Your recruiter's going to know, why are you calling us as opposed to other people? What type of setting are you looking for? What type of community do you want? What are your lifestyle needs? If you are someone who likes to ski, maybe Southern Illinois is not right for you. We only get 1 or 2 good snows a year and we don't have mountains here. So good to kind of figure those things out ahead of time. When would you be available to start? Questions regarding malpractice, licenses, suspensions, restrictions, board certifications, etc. And again, gaps in training. Questions to ask. Is it a private practice or is it hospital employed? Is it independent practice or is it a care team model? How many facilities will I work in? Also, how far apart are they? That's important. What's the case variety like? Definitely get a good understanding of what the schedule and call frequency is going to be. Why are you recruiting? Is it because the organization is growing? Are people retiring? Get a good idea of what's going on there. What's the team culture? This is so important. You spend a lot of time at work. You want to be around happy people with a good culture. Um, of course, ask about the community, lifestyle, personal needs. Salary shouldn't be your first question. With CRNA specifically, I go over salary on the first call every time. So most of the time, you're going to get that salary up front. Make sure it's not your first question. It can be asked later at an appropriate time. You want to establish that you're interested in the position before you start to talk about salary. And then next steps. So the next steps, you might have another phone interview. Your recruiter may have some follow-up questions for you. Otherwise, your recruiter will notify you of the next steps in the process, whether you're going to be invited for a digital interview or an in-person visit. And then, if you are invited to move forward in the interview process, expect to receive a background packet requesting your background information, your references at this time. Your recruiter is really just trying to keep things moving along for you in the process because we have to recruit until the positions are full. So we want to keep that paperwork moving along so you don't lose your spot if you just do decide that it's the job for you.
So, digital interviews have really hit the ground running with COVID and just trying to limit the in person contact. And so, we've seen a lot of organizations go digital. And even at school, I'm sure you guys have moved to a lot of more digital communication. So, our organization is using this as a first step, and it has been wonderful. So, prior to the interview, you definitely want to dress and behave as if you are actually taking part on an insight interview. I know you guys have probably all seen memes of people, being professional from the top and not from the bottom. There have been instances where we have seen that firsthand, somebody wearing sweatpants. It is still an interview. We still treat it as an interview. You're going to be meeting with potential coworkers, medical directors, administration. You definitely want to be in interview mode. As far as location goes, make sure that you have a clean, work appropriate background. Um, Again, we've witnessed things that haven't been so professional, and so just being mindful of where you're participating in these interviews is something good to think about. And making sure there's no patient information visible if you are having to interview from a professional location, and then being mindful of your lighting. Sometimes, depending on the angle, it can glare off of your face and we can't see you. And then eliminating distractions. So, participating in the interview from a quiet area and muting notifications from your device. I have participated or facilitated several digital interviews. One example is of a candidate and their spouse was working from home too, and they were in the same room, and he was having phone calls, and it's just really distracting and not very professional. So just making sure that you're being mindful of these things, and then having your phone ringing or text messaging going off, it's just very distracting. And then for preparations, with digital interviews, it's really important to ensure that you have a good internet connection on a fully charged device. You don't want to run into a situation where your bandwidth is low, your computer is dying, or whatever device you're utilizing. Again, it just kind of takes away from the professionalism. We do understand that certain things happen with internet connectivity. We've ran into these issues, but just making sure ahead of time that the connectivity is good. And then having your materials ready, have your resume there, have a pen and paper to take notes, your itinerary, any questions that you have prepared, um, any notes that you took during the phone screening. I highly, highly, highly recommend jotting down or different things from the conversation you had with your recruiter, because it's not uncommon for somebody to say, "Well, tell me what you know about our organization and this opportunity." And I've seen the deer in the headlights look a lot. So just being prepared for that. And then also, if you don't have the platform that you're interviewing on already onto your device, or it is needed to be downloaded, make sure you download that ahead of time and take a look at it and kind of work through the different settings that they have to familiarize yourself with that. And then again, with the settings, making sure you know how to utilize the camera and the microphone on the platform that you're using. Again, situations that we've seen with not being muted or having the camera off, we've heard and seen things that we probably shouldn't have. And then again, kind of talking about joining the meeting and learning those functions earlier on. Making sure your camera is at eye level so you can simulate eye contact. And then again, those two important things, muting your microphone and your camera until the meeting begins. And just being on time throughout the day, especially if you're given breaks. Again, this is the same as what it would be like in an in-person interview. So being punctual is so important. And then introduce yourself as you would at an on-site interview. We can't have the handshakes right now, so just really giving that good solid introduction is really important. And then signing out. So when you go to leave the meeting, make sure you are fully exited out of it.
I'm going to talk about on-site interviews. So you may get through a digital interview and then want to come in and do uh, an on-site type of thing, and there may be some interviews that go along with that. So again, you want to dress and behave professionally. You want to be punctual. You want to make that eye contact. You want to smile. You want to remain positive throughout the day. You know, you may be asked the question, tell me about yourself by every single person you meet. And that could be about 12 people, but the 12th person hasn't heard that before. So just remember that you need to be positive all day long. Be yourself. We do want to know who you are. At the core of it, that's what it's all about. You're going to be there, for a few years minimum. So be who you are. Kind of think of what JFK used to say, with a little tweak. Ask not what this organization can do for you, but instead answer, what can I do for this particular opportunity or organization? After the interview, whether it be an on-site or it be a digital, follow up with any questions that you may have. Keep those lines of communication open with your recruiter. Respond promptly to any requests for additional information. This is where that background paperwork comes into play. If something's being requested additional, just respond to that promptly. If you're not interested in the opportunity, that's okay. Just be honest right away and let them know, this isn't what I thought it would be. Can you go back one slide for me?
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. If you are interested, let the recruiter know that you're interested and make sure you turn in any missing paperwork as soon as possible. Our organization, we can't move forward until all of that paperwork is returned to us. So after you've said that you want the job and then the job is actually offered, there are a few different ways a job can be offered to you. There can be a verbal job offer, an offer letter, or a contract agreement. The verbal offer may be presented over the phone, maybe face to face, but it's going to do the same type of thing. It's going to provide key information on salary, bonuses, relocation, so on and so forth. A letter of intent is very similar, I guess, to a verbal offer, except it's in writing. It's going to provide that same key information, salary, bonuses, relocation, and more, but it's just a paper copy. The contract agreement or an employment agreement, some organizations call it different things. That is where the legally binding contract comes into play. So that is the multiple page document providing all of the details of the agreement. This is one where you may want to get an attorney involved to review it for you. Make sure that that attorney is familiar with medical employment law in the state that you're going to be practicing. So once you get an offer, you need to know how to close the deal. If you accept an offer verbally, always follow it up with something in writing. Send an email. Don't just leave a voicemail. Ask for a return phone call. Have the attorney review it, like I was saying earlier. They need to be familiar with medical law in the state you're going to be working. Nothing is official until that contract is fully executed, so countersigned by both parties. Uh, Be sure and keep an original copy as well. Both parties should retain that original copy. And then note that there's an effective date of the contract, and then there's also a start date of your employment. So look at those two things closely.
Okay, now I'm going to cover why you should consider SIH. One, we have a very competitive compensation package. We have a very good team culture here. In this position, you would have autonomy and support. We are patient care focused. We have a diverse case variety. You'd have an opportunity to practice your skills. You would get to live in beautiful Southern Illinois. And as an in-house recruiter, I would be here to help you every step of the way. So let's dive into a little bit of that. And this is the information I generally share on a phone screen. I know I said salary should not be your first question. I'm just going to go ahead and share it first and get it out there. So, as a new grad here, you would start with a base salary of $220,000 a year. That's a guaranteed salary. It's based on 40 hours a week, and I'll dig into why I said that in just a minute. So years 1 and 2, you would get your salary of 220,000. Years 3 and 4, you would go up to 240,000, and year 5, you would go up to 260,000. Our usual contract is 3 years for a CRNA. So you can see you would get your first raise within that first 3 years. And then if you stayed with us, another raise would come in the second 3 years. As a new CRNA here, you would start with 6 weeks of vacation in year 1. In year 2, you would get 7 weeks. In year 3, you would get 8 weeks. We have a $20,000 sign-on bonus that is payable within 15 days of starting. We have a $25,000 retention bonus. So that is if you come for your first 3 years, you decide you love it, you're going to stay with us, then you're going to get a $25,000 retention bonus when you sign that second 3-year contract. Overtime compensation. So, as I mentioned, the guaranteed salary is based on 40 hours a week. If you work 35 hours a week, that's okay. You're still going to get that guaranteed salary based on 40 hours a week. But if you go over 40, you're going to be compensated overtime here, and that's payable at $130 an hour. In addition to that, we also have student loan assistance. It is $8,167 a year for up to 6 years. So if you stayed with us for 2 contract terms, you would have $49,000 of your student loans paid off. We also have CME allowance. We have a robust benefits package with a 401k match. I love that our benefits package is really good for growing families. I have 3 children on my insurance. I love that it doesn't matter if I have 1 or 5, I'm either adding children or I'm not. I'm not having to pay for each additional child. And then there are also benefits for healthy lifestyles and a lot of other really cool things that are part of our benefits. I think the best part about this job, though, beyond the salary, is the team culture. We have an excellent group of people here. As I am recruiting, the number one thing I am listening for is that positive go-getter attitude. We want to bring in people that want to contribute to our positive, high-performing work culture because our CRNAs and anesthesiologists really take good care of each other. We are driven by our SIH commitment to care. Our anesthesia care team has 16 anesthesiologists and 37 CRNAs, all working in collaboration to provide quality care. We're patient care focused. As a not for profit healthcare system, we are committed to positive patient outcomes, and we have a goal of zero preventable physical and emotional harm. I always have to slow down when I say that. What I mean by that is our number one priority is making sure that our patients are receiving the best care possible. And as a not for profit healthcare system, it doesn't mean we don't make money, it means we spend our money differently. So we invest in our staff, we invest in making sure you have all the tools you need to be successful. There is a Pyxis in every room. You have access to the drugs that you need. If you have a high risk patient that needs Sugamidex, use it. If that is what's best for your patient, no one is going to tell you you can't do that. We have a diverse case variety here. I think this is one of the really appealing things about our position as well. You get to work on all of the different cases you have been trained on. It's easier for me to tell you what we don't have than what we do have. So everything is represented here with the exception of transplants and sick pediatrics. The facilities, there are 5 different facilities that you would rotate through as a CRNA here, and I'll give you a lay of the land as we go through. So Memorial Hospital of Carbondale is a 162-bed level 2 trauma center. We also have a lot of labor and delivery here. It's the only facility delivering babies in Southern Illinois. Right now we're about between 2,500 and 3,000 births a year. Also here in Carbondale, we have Center for Medical Arts. There is a physician surgery center in here. This one is CRNA only practice, and it is just about 3 minutes from the hospital in Carbondale. Over in Heron, which is just about 20 minutes down the road, we have a 114-bed hospital. Also in Heron, we have the Orthopedic Institute of Southern Illinois. And then we have St. Joseph Memorial Hospital in Murfreesboro. Murfreesboro is about 15 minutes from Carbondale. So just to revisit the geography so you don't think, oh my goodness, 5 facilities, I'll have to travel over all over. Not at all. Carbondale's in the middle. Heron, 20 minutes one way. St. Joe's, 15 minutes another way. Also, you know where you're going to be well in advance. You're usually at a place for about a week. And you can see month and a half in advance where you're going to be on shift admin. It's an online system. The schedule here is Monday through Friday. Everyone starts at 7 a.m. Unless you're post call, because post call day is always off. So everyone starts at 7 a.m. We use a peel off system to determine who goes home when. You can see the night before what cases you're assigned to. So that's going to give you an idea. But, you know, in a hospital setting, there are add-ons, things happen. So just know you're going to start at 7 a.m. You'll get to go home as soon as cases start to peel off. If you're first out that day, you could be leaving anywhere between 8 a.m. and when things start to slow down. I know I've seen people leaving at 9:30, 10 in the morning multiple times. If you're the late person, the all the way late person, you should expect to be there till 8. If I was going to say there's one downside to this job is that, you know, it's not 7 to 3. It varies. So, you know, you might have a short day, the next day might be a long day, but it all evens out. As we look at our CRNA's hours over the last year, I've gotten a report many times, and it's always been between 35 and 39 hours a week as our average hours worked. Some weeks that might be 30, some weeks you might get overtime and have 50. If you're someone that likes to work overtime, that is available to you. You can take someone else's call as long as, you know, they were going to be in overtime as well. Beeper call is at 2 facilities. So out of the 5 facilities I mentioned, we're only taking call at 2. So that would be Carbondale and Heron. It is beeper call from home. Call is about 1 in 10 right now. For weekday call, we're going to continue to recruit until we get that to about 1 in 14. Again, with that post-call day off. And then weekends, this is 1 in 5. I know we're at about 1 in 6 right now, and we're going to continue to recruit till we get that to about 1 in 8.
So
And moving,
go ahead, sorry.
no, you go right ahead. Talk about Southern Illinois.
So I just want to mention real quick while we talk about Southern Illinois very briefly, as Ashley was mentioning the distances in between different locations, traffic here is not really a thing. Traffic is one car in front of you and one car behind you. I've been stopped in construction for like 3 minutes one time, and I was complaining about that. 3 minutes. At Southern Illinois University and Southern Illinois University itself. Um, a lot of people, when they hear Southern Illinois University, they think of the medical school. The medical school is located in Springfield, Illinois, but we do have the family medicine residency program here. So it is really nice that Carbondale is a university town. It brings in a lot of diversity to the area. And then state parks and lakes, if you enjoy hiking or being outdoors or anything to do with recreation, we have an ample amount of opportunities for you to be able to hit the water, again, go rock climbing, hiking, so many different adventures within Southern Illinois. And we don't take advantage of it enough, to be honest. And this is just another example on this slide of different things to do. On the bottom left, that's Tunnel Hill. It is a really, really popular bike trail. If any of you guys are interested in biking, it's really cool to go see.
We have lots of apple orchards, peach orchards, strawberry fields, you pick berry farms, farmers markets, multiple outdoor fruit and vegetable venues. We have the Shawnee Hills Wine Trail. Our ground is really good for growing grapes, so we have a lot of vineyards as well as wineries. And then we have several microbreweries starting up in the area as well.
All right. So, just again, I want to go ahead and give you guys my information. I'm Ashley. I'm the anesthesia recruiter. You can email me at ashley.bouchard@sih.net. And my phone number is right here. If you feel like you want to talk about CVs, or I'm sorry, your resume, and you'd like a resume consultation, or you have any questions about how to prepare for your job search, whether it's at SIH or not, we are all here and happy to help you. I feel like I jumped ahead. I'll show you everyone's information on the next slide. Um, gotta do the legal disclaimer here. So no portion of this presentation should be construed as legal advice, and it can't be reproduced. This is where I was trying to go. So any of us here can help you with your resume or job search, whether you're choosing SIH or not. If you are, of course, please feel free to reach out to me and we can schedule a call to talk about our opportunity here. We went just 3 minutes over. Sorry, guys. I know you've been in school all week and it's Friday and you're ready to start your weekend. So, anyone who feels like you are ready to go, please feel free to sign off. Anyone who has questions, I will be here and I'm happy to help answer those questions. Michelle and Nicole as well. No questions from anyone? All right. Well, if you think of anything later, please don't hesitate to reach out